What was the most unexpected thing done by someone you thought you knew? When I was 21, my mom revealed that my dad is probably not my dad. I grew up knowing my parents loved each other and respected each other intellectually, but did not function well as a couple. They split when I was 5 due to physical abuse and alcoholic tendencies going both ways, and we're all glad they're apart. Fast forward, they haven't spoken to each other in a decade. I'm a grown adult. I visited my mother, and she sits me down to explain a secret she has kept my whole life. I might not be his. Plot twist: I might be his brother's daughter. Mom tells me a tale of forbidden love. She fell for his older brother hard and fast, but my grandma forbid it, as my mother wasn't good enough for her beloved eldest son. Instead, my grandmother offered up the second son, and my parents dated on and off. For 3 years, my mother saw the eldest brother in secret while he was engaged to another woman, while my father, the second son, stood guard so no one would find out. My mother explained I could belong to either of them. The most unexpected thing about this story was my dad. He loved her the whole time. He loved her so much that he protected her, knowing he was never her first choice. This made the story more tragic. I cannot fathom how tortured they all were. In college, we had 4 of us living in a 2-bedroom apartment. I shared a room with Ruben, who was a really introverted, shy nerd who didn't seem capable of socializing well or talking to women much. We had a small group of us go to this karaoke bar, and we were drinking soju and picking the usual bad songs and singing stuff. Ruben hadn't joined in and sung anything, so we pushed him a little bit to pick a song, and he sang to us after all. Then, it was like a moment out of a reality show, and he just totally rocked that song, singing his heart out with more passion than I've ever seen him do anything. We were all silent and in awe that he could belt out a song like that and sing perfectly. A colleague I've been working with for years, supporting her in 2 projects, and working my ass off to get promoted. We had a good relationship too. During our last round of evaluation, I asked for a promotion, to be on the same level as her roughly, thinking she would back me up. She didn't, even saying I wasn't doing well or wasn't working independently enough. I found out it was because she wanted to make sure I'd keep working for her. That was unexpected after 4 years of really helping her out. My sister and I haven't voluntarily spoken to each other since I left home 15 years ago. No grand falling out, we just always loathed each other, and once we didn't have to live in the same tiny house together, with our discipline-obsessed parents, we had no reason to have to associate with one another anymore. We've seen each other at Christmas at our parents' place, at a couple of family funerals, and we can be civil to each other. But she's always been pretty vile to me if we have to spend any time alone together. I tried reaching out a couple of times in my 20s, but she was just kind of shitty with me, so I left it alone. And then at the weekend she emailed me to tell me she's making some changes in her life and regrets the fact that she doesn't know me at all, and that she wants us to try and forge a real sibling relationship, independent of our fucked up upbringing and the people that we used to be. I might be getting a sister, a proper sister. My friend got engaged. He's been very vocal in the past about not wanting to get married, and when our other friend got engaged after being with his girlfriend for 6 months, this guy's went on a rant about how it was stupid to get engaged after such a short time. Well, come June, turns out he's engaged, has been for 6 weeks, and has only been with the girl since February. Oh, and she is his best mate's ex, and that relationship ended in January. The hypocrisy is staggering. My dad robbed a blockbuster that he worked at when I was like 10 and didn't tell any of us. One day I called the store to talk to him to see if he could bring me home Spyro for PlayStation, and the manager asked to talk to my ma. He then proceeded to tell us that my dad robbed the store a couple of days prior and was arrested. He kept coming and leaving the house as if he was still going to work all those days. Needless to say, the divorce happened shortly after. He also flew a lady out from SF that he met online, only to send her right back as she wasn't what he expected. Coworker of mine just stopped coming into the office. That's not that big a deal really, but it was after he used his vacation time, so it started to track down to sick time, and then unpaid leave. The boss started getting nervous. This wasn't normal behavior. Anyways, this guy had worked quietly for 13 years, had been there a decent amount of time but never advanced or anything, just your typical quiet worker. No crazy promotions or specialization. Probably only making 60K tops from the best I can figure. Just an ordinary and average Joe. But then, poof, he just stopped coming to work. Like completely stopped. No explanation, no text or call to our manager or anything. So our immediate superior gets mad, and we've all seen this play out at least once or twice before. Some people just aren't cut out for this line of work, but then the guy in question wasn't exactly a new hire. He'd been with the company for a long goddamn time. Phone calls, emails, they're going to fire this guy soon and they're running out of excuses not to because he's just not responding. Manager has to go to HR, and now people start to wonder if maybe something happened. Call him on a different line along some really old emergency contact information. Still no answer. Thing becomes a mystery in the office. Nobody knows. Rumors start to spread. Maybe he's dead. Maybe there was an accident. Maybe he got poached and went to another company. They fire him, finally. I think they did. No other option really because he's not in the office and they definitely replaced him. Thing is, he's not dead. He's not sick or hurt or gone off to another company. No, this guy is a legend. See, it turns out he'd been stockpiling over half his salary for years with some magic number off in the distance. And then when he reached it, the guy just retired. Like dropped everything right there and then, and just left without telling anyone. My aunt stole a large sum of money from me. When I turned 18, I was to get a check for 18 years of per cap with interest. 6 months before my 18th, she quit her job and started working at a small 5-location credit union. She asked me to move my accounts there to help her meet quotas since she just started and would do joint accounts so I could get the benefits too. 10 months later, I thought she had a better job and was reaping the benefits when she started to remodel her house and spend her nights at the bar. I didn't think anything of it because she was my aunt and had a decent job. When I went to change banks because I was moving across the country, she told me she already withdrew the money and I couldn't get it, and since it was a joint account there was nothing I could do about it. While not fine, the worst thing about it was that she claimed it was what my mother wanted and was in her will. Then when disproved, said she deserved it more than me, and then eventually that because she did it in a legal way it was hers now. She convinced her boss that I was trying to ruin her life so I couldn't even go to them for help. Eventually I got 60% of it back from a settlement, but she burned all the bridges she could in the family. She would cut off any contact with people who asked what the problem was, or would threaten to if they talked about it. Since she was getting free child care from her mom, she said she would rather pay for child care than listen to her mom talk about me. So my grandmother had to keep quiet, or she would lose her other 2 grandkids and her last living daughter along with me because I was moving across the country. Guy that I grew up with slit his girlfriend's throat and killed her right after we all got out of high school. Shocked us all. Creepiest thing, he was incarcerated in 88 to 89. In 2004 I went into a little convenience store. There's a great big guy in there. He knows my name and greets me enthusiastically. I don't recognize him. Of course you know how this ends. It's my former childhood friend. He had been out for about a month. And does he like to talk? I'm not kidding you. He recited my old phone number from the 80s back to me like lightning. And then my best friends, and several of our other friends. Never seen anything like it. Then tells me he has a Corvette. And that, maybe if you're a good girl, he'll let me ride in it sometime. EW. Last I heard, he got arrested for sex trafficking. When my mother admitted to the family that she had been molested as a child by her maternal grandfather, everyone was understandably shocked, sympathetic, and supportive. Except her mother, my grandma. She just said, "Oh honey, I knew all about that." She knew her father was molesting her young daughter and did nothing. I knew my grandma wasn't a very nice person, I just didn't think she was evil. This very morning, my dad, who doesn't leave the house much and I don't hardly see him, randomly came by my house to bring me a Boston cream pie, which I have been craving. This is one of the most awesome surprises ever. I am so happy right now. My dad and his best friend came and visited my family for a week's vacation. I've known my dad's friend for years. Anyway, one night I am cleaning the kitchen and chatting with the friend, I'll call him Buzz, is in the kitchen chatting with me while I clean. Then he starts talking about how good of a relationship he and I have. Buzz is drunk and high, so I'm not paying that much attention to him. Buzz steps really close to me and asks if he could have a threesome with me and my wife. I start telling him to shut up and stop talking. I know he's drunk and high, so I'm just telling him to shut up. Then he reaches behind me and starts grabbing my ass while talking about having a three-way with me and wife. I am 190 centimeters tall. I played college football and was in the military. I'm a big guy and these things don't happen to me. Ever Buzz is grabbing handfuls of my ass. I raised my left arm and pulled back to elbow him in the face, but I stopped, realizing would have to clean up the blood. I go wake my father up and tell him to get Buzz out of my house right this instant. My dad, same size as me, says okay, gets him out and into a hotel, then comes back and asks what happened. I explain the whole thing. My dad is dumbfounded and says, "I can't believe I just lost my best friend. I'm so sorry he did this to you." Do you have a similar story? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.